You are now standing at the entrance to the village that the archives called the Portal Mayor, that is, the Great Gate of the town. At Calais, it must have been monumental, given the status of this village, a barony whose lords sat in rotation in the État de Languedoc, the province's representative assembly, which oversaw taxation, roads, and navigable waterways, and negotiated at the highest level with the monarchy. It was either a tower gate, as at Vieux-le-Fort, or a gate in the ramparts flanked by two towers, as at Camaret-sur-Aigle in the Comtat Venaissin. This entrance carried an unmistakable seigneurial aura, and it was through this gate that successive lords made their joyeuse entrée on their first arrival in the village as lord in full right. That day was a day of celebration. Villagers decorated the streets, and the consuls, acting as an ambassade, went out along the road to await the lord and his escort, accompanying them to the closed Great Gate, where the ceremony of the handing over of the keys then took place. The quarter of the village onto which the Portal Mayor opened in the 18th century is a distinctive one. It includes a plot known as Le Duché, recalling the chateau of the lords of Uzès, dismantled in the 16th century, which had become a tenant farm dependent on the Château de Bonnour. This farm kept the name of the vanished chateau, Le Castéas, where the dovecote still recalls the noble character of the building that presided for centuries over the working of the lord's vast lands. The Compois land registers describe the estate fairly well. In 1751, it included about 300 square meters of roofed buildings, among them a house, a stable, a shed, and a sheepfold. The small tower known as the Dovecote does not appear. It may have been added after 1751, or simply passed over in silence by the surveyor responsible for the Compois. Nearby stands the Hostellerie du Castéas, a reminder that inns once stood outside village ramparts so that they could still take in travelers after the gates had been closed for the night, as they were every evening. An air of notability still lingers in this quarter of Calais, home to some of the village's most striking architectural features, such as ogee-arched lintels or that Renaissance window typical of the houses belonging to the leading figures of a highly hierarchical village society. Social superiority was expressed through architectural decoration and building height, and one should not be misled by the present-day appearance of our villages. The silk-growing boom that began in the second half of the 18th century and peaked under the July monarchy enriched the population, who used their new wealth to build their houses higher and to improve living conditions. Glass windows became standard, terracotta tile floors were laid, and facades were more finely decorated. Calais and its neighboring villages were profoundly transformed by this, but in the centuries before this growth surge, the houses of ordinary people were often low, some single-story. This shows clearly in the cadastral survey of Domazan, once a square fortified village, where the engineer in charge of the first cadastre noted the number of floors in each house, and we owe him our thanks, posthumously, for it lets us grasp this reality directly. Single-story houses were still numerous there in 1813. That said, the standard village house remained one of 2 or 3 stories, with the ground floor given over to productive activity. In town, this room is often called la boutique, the shop. The same term came to be used in villages during the 18th century, partly by contamination from urban usage, but also because wine was sold there. Upstairs was the living space, where people ate and slept. Above that, when there was one, was the attic. This house in the fort of Verpont-du-Gard shows just how low such houses could be. But unlike in town, where the poor might live, as at Carcassonne, in wattle and daub houses with thatched roofs, as Taine observed in the 19th century, in villages, the houses were built of stone. Bearing all this in mind, one better appreciates the impression of social dominance conveyed by the tall, fine houses of the notables, notaries, wealthy farmers, judges, and foremost among them, the lord. So the village has changed a great deal, even if it still offers us a few threads to pull, to bring back into view a past that is not as buried as we might think.